Now, I guess my job here is to make it super churchy. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. Don't you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit?
Yeah.
So if our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, we got to have some internal self-care. Kind of for the believer, right? So I know a lot of times we're talking in general, but for the believer, what does self-care look like even in ministry work or church work or maybe not working?
Yeah. Well, I want to give a disclaimer about the negative self-talk. So that is normal.
It is.
We are definitely going to have lots of those. However, keeping a balanced perspective of that, or not letting it be the foundation in which you look at yourself. Just like anxiety, a little bit of that can help us kind of be motivated and disrupt, and it's not uncommon for us to second guess ourselves. But if you find that is keeping you from like achieving things, setting goals, making changes, then you probably want to assess the power of your talk. And if we're looking at it from a spiritual standpoint, the power of your words, like in speaking life and those kind of things. So I think from a spiritual standpoint, for the believer, it's purpose. Yeah. It's thinking about what you were called to do, believing in the abilities that God has given you to carry out these things. Sometimes when you're a visionary or a dreamer or God puts something in your heart, you get scared. You be like, not me. Ain't no way. Look at my history. You want me to do that? You think these people going to listen to me? But internal self-care says, wait, I trust this process. And even when I doubt myself, I know that God is putting these things in my heart or in my path so that I can give him glory, serve my community, whatever that looks like, and I'm going to trust in that.
I think of, it's like we're made in his image, right? And when we think of that self-doubt and that negative self-talk, and sometimes just the negative beliefs we have about ourselves.
Or that somebody else have given to us.
Right, that they have implanted in our, mind about ourselves. Sometimes you have to remember, like, I was made in his image, and he's not bad. He's good.
There you go.
And therefore, I'm good. And, I think that's a way, yes, negative self-talk is normal, but we have ways to combat that. And sometimes it goes back to the foundation. Hold on. What did God say?
I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wait a minute. Let me check myself.
And I don't believe he's wrong.
Right.
So I must be fearfully and wonderfully made. I must be good. I am able to do good things.
Yes. And I think, so piggybacking on what you said in the beginning about, I'm tying this into trauma since, June is the PTSD awareness.
Absolutely.
If you have experienced a traumatic event and your belief system about yourself or the world or people has been inherently negative because you have more negative experiences, it's not unlikely that you're going to have to work through some negative self-talk, some strong beliefs around trusting other people, your worth, and your abilities, right? And that's where sometimes working with a professional can be really helpful in filtering through the roots of that. Because as a child, I could have believed the world wasn't safe, people can be trusted, and as an adult, that manifests in how I show up and take care of myself in the things that I do.
So what are some common ways a therapist might support a person with trauma?
Yeah. So outside of screening them and explaining those results, we'll develop a treatment plan. And so a couple of ways of trauma-informed care is CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. That is a well-versed and really effective modality that kind of shapes and helps a client understand how they think about their trauma, that makes them think about themselves, influences how they feel and what they do. So like the CBT triangle, it's thoughts, feelings, and behavior. So sometimes getting to the root of that is helpful. EMDR therapy is really, really trendy right now, but also highly effective. Emotionally focused trauma therapy is one of my new favorites.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. It's really emotionally charging work, but it's so helpful. And I'm speaking from personal and professional experience. I really like that one. So that medication, so we don't want to rule out the stigma of medication. In some cases, it is helpful for a person to get on medication, and you cannot stay on medication for a long time. Sometimes you can get on medication to stabilize yourself, to learn new skills, and then phase off. And then some people, based on your preference, you might like to continue taking it, and some people can just use other behavioral techniques.
Yeah. We mentioned adolescents, like the kiddos, there's the TFCBT, so the trauma-focused CBT for the ones that have experienced that trauma and they're under the age of 18. So there's a lot of treatment modalities available.
Somatic therapy, which a lot of people are getting into that now because trauma is thinking about like a derailing of the mind and the body. It gets disconnected. So anything that brings your mind and your body back to its present self is going to be good trauma work. So if you master the mind, and we haven't really talked about the body, then you might still have some physical symptoms, even though the mental part has been, restored, if you will. So just think about trauma being a mind-body connection. When we have a traumatic experience, the brain hijacks itself to protect you from whatever is happening, and it derails. And so for years and years, we can get derailed, and those modalities help us get back on track.
So what about the stress? I'm not where I need to be in life yet. So at this age, I was supposed to be married, a kid, 1.5 children, the picket, or ministry work even. I'm supposed to be the head of this ministry, and I'm still working my way up one of the arms. What about that?
So one, I would say in those moments, a lot of comparison is coming up. Right. Okay. There's a lot of usually unrealistic expectations, right? That say this is the idea that I want to have, but the reality doesn't look that way.
Right.
And usually when we're stuck in that space, we're not able to come up with the solutions to actually get to where we want to go, because we're so bogged down of like, I should. Like we say to manage anxiety, like don't should yourself. That's a really common thinking area. Like I should be doing this. This person should know. Those are ways to let us know we're internalizing things in a way that's probably not as helpful.
Gotcha.
Right? So.
And I think also we have to, I'm going to say check yourself again. Okay? It's the second time I say it. But, change our attitude, right? Because it's like, I thought I was going to be here. I thought I was going to have this job. I thought I was going to have this family. But, okay, so I'm not in this position at my job. But maybe I have moved up from when I started.
Yeah, given that grace and
I've not finished this degree. I haven't finished this degree, but how many classes have I taken since I started that's getting me closer to the goal?
Yes. Focusing, I think keeping a balanced perspective. Like it's not all bad because we're not at that place. I feel like are a lot of things that have improved. But I think also if we're thinking about checking in with ourselves, like what you said, what does not being in this place mean?
Right.
What does it mean about me because I don't have the white picket fence yet? What does it mean? What am I saying about myself or narrating or assuming that people around me are narrating about me because I'm not here? And when you can target that, sometimes that voice, that inner critic can get a little bit quieter so you can come up and bring that.
So
let us know.
A lot of us were raised with some of these mantras. Real men don't ask for help. What are y'all? Oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
And I made a list of just some of the things the messages that we give young men, boys, males. It's that sense of man up. Don't cry. What you crying for? Girls cry. And you said real men don't ask for help. I think it's the opposite.
Absolutely.
I think real men are strong enough to ask for help. And I think that shows a quality of strength.
Yes, okay. That's what I would say, a quality of strength. So when you think about what society says a man should be, they do say you should be strong and you should not feel and everybody depends on you. You need to be the provider. You can't be emotional.
Right.
All of these things that make it hard for men to have human experiences, right? And so when you think about how that might impact their mental health, they may not feel like there is space or it's even normal or okay to ask for help, to view needing support as a weakness or them being a failure when it is actually a way to support themselves.
Okay.
But there hasn't been enough permission even from growing up.
Right.
That's been reinforced from a little boy. Like, get up. You ain't hurt.
What you crying
Stop
for?
crying.
Yeah.
Right.
If you hear that your entire life, think about how ingrained that message is that might feel foreign to ask somebody for help. You might really struggle with thinking that something's wrong with you because you need help. So, black men in general, it is okay and very healthy to ask for help. You actually can do more, support your families in ways when you're not doing it by yourself.
It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel all of the emotions, right? Okay. I think we haven't given men the opportunity to value what they feel and to communicate that. So just as we feel sad, and we may communicate that a little more, like we've been saying, oh, it's just Tuesday, it's just Tuesday, it's overwhelming. You know, we want to also leave the space for men to have a place where they can communicate what they feel, to seek resources when they need them. So I think it's okay for real men. I'm telling you now, it's okay for real men to ask for help. It is okay.
I think that it's a stigma in general to say what real men do.
Right.
I think we get to define health in our own terms, in our own way, but I think that's one of the barriers that keep a lot of men hurt and impacting their mental health is because they think they're not being a real man. So I would think about how men can give themselves permission to shed that label and not being real, but just being. Like, how do you get to just show up the way that you need to with the family and friends and support system that you have? If you can't depend on them with all the things that you're doing, I mean, that's a big burden to carry.
I like how you said just having a human experience.
Yeah.
You are human.
So I know men are going to listen to this and be like, y'all are crazy. How are we going to do this? Like, nobody's going to give us space to do this. Where do I start? And so in order for men to take care of themselves, yes, we need to ask them to give themselves permission, but we also, I think, community, women, wives, friends, have a responsibility to support that being okay, and them not feeling like they're weak or less than because they get to be human.
Exactly.
I think those that are in the caregiver role, and you know, we're having, whether it's like a disabled parent or like you said, aging parent, or you're having to take care of a child, extended family members.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they're experiencing that compassion fatigue, their own health takes the back seat. And so you're not taking care of yourself as much as you would like to, or maybe you used to. You're not eating well, not just looking after yourself in those doctor visits because you're prioritizing the person that you are in the caregiver role taking care of. And so therefore our own health sometimes takes the back seat, and we know the effects of that. We know when we're not taking care of our bodies, sometimes we end up in a position where we need to be cared for.
Absolutely.
So we have to think about that when we're in that caregiver role, making sure that we're filling our cup and really taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of the next person.
Yes.
When
I
they
feel like
say put the oxygen mask on
I literally
first,
just said this today.
Wow.
I feel like I say this
for
once a week in session, y'all.
It is for a reason.
Yes. So when you were mentioning like how you know, so we don't want to assume that anyone knows how their body responds to stress, because what I've noticed in working with some people that have experienced like compassion fatigue or even caregiver fatigue, they've been going at this rate for so long that it feels normal. And so the minute they pause and rest, then they really get to see how they feel. And so even when we think about seasonal change, and I know we'll talk a little bit about that tonight, we push our bodies to go as machines, and then the season change, and then we are forced to go inward and to slow down. And what normally happens? Shut down. Everybody gets sick. Everybody gets sick in some regard, because now your body is kind of catching up with you in a way of saying, yeah, we should have slowed down a long time ago. Or you go, and you get laid out because you get sick.
They can't slow down?
Right.
Like, what can we do? Like,
Great question, Whitney.
When
you cannot slow down, you have to find moments to create stillness, nurturing, and rest in the life you have. So that might look like closing your eyes for 60 seconds. It might look like scheduling in a 30-minute nap. It might look like eliciting support. When you can't stop, it's hard to think about how that's non-negotiable, because if you don't stop,
you will
and
stop.
take care of yourself, your body is going to shut down at an inopportune time. So I would highly suggest like scheduling time to stop on your own terms versus your body shutting down when you need it most. Because usually when we're going a little bit more, we really need that space, and that's when our body shuts down. Oh, you got a big presentation and you out the whole week.
So what are some coping mechanisms a person can use to deal with their trauma?
Some of the easier ones I think are like grounding.
Yeah.
So I think a trendy one that people see all the time is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mm-hmm. So engaging all of your senses or naming what you can see, hear, taste, touch, feel. Nature.
That's it. Sunlight.
Sunlight.
Always say
when I tell you the
sunlight.
simple things, like if we're thinking about what can I do right now in this moment, if I'm listening to this and I'm like, you know what, I felt something. What can I go do? Like grounding yourself in something that either is going to relax you or uplift you. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we do this by, like, I'll tell some of the clients I'm working with trauma work is doing the opposite action. Mm-hmm. So like if I'm activated and I want to shut down, I probably need to reach out to somebody. Right? If I'm activated and I want to eat a whole gallon of ice cream, I might need to scale it back a bit and like go and do something else. But grounding, breath work, journaling, getting your body movement, like tension reduction is really, really helpful when the body is feeling stretched.
We hold that trauma. We like the body work that you talk about. Sometimes we get stretched, that tension, all of that, progressive muscle relaxation.
Oh, yes. That's one of my favorite. I do that like in between sessions.
Just on a regular day.
Because I'm holding mine, but I'm holding yours too. Like I gotta get that out. Yes. So definitely think any that goes back to like the somatic part of like body work. Mm-hmm. And so you can even do that if we're going back to like a partnered space. Like that can be co-regulation, which if you're doing trauma work with a partner, a therapist might teach you guys how to co-regulate, where you're working together to soothe each other's nervous system.
So if real men do ask for help, okay, and knowing that they need help, where is the line between needing help and I just don't want to be the man that God's called me to be?
So the first word that popped in my mind when you said that was like accountability.
Okay.
So one of the things we're going to get into when we talk about signs of depression or ways that mental health is impacted by men is like isolating themselves. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you only have your perspective, you might align with that. I think a large part of being challenged and pushed in your purpose and also not being enabled is having a support system that you trust that can make sure that stays balanced. I think it's hard to do for anybody when they're on their own, but I think it's a different, unique path for men in general. So you might not see it, but you need men in your life that can be honest with you and call you out in love and say, like, you wrong, or you really can do this, which goes back to us creating those safe spaces of being able to encourage men. I don't know, and you might, as a black man, need to, or as a man in general, need to kind of let us know what's the baseline of that now with men encouraging each other and feeling comfortable saying, you got this?
Well, I'm not going to violate any of the man laws and man codes. I guess that's my disclaimer. No, right? No, So I do think we have gotten to the point where we know how to encourage. We do know that, you can tell when your brother's down, something's going wrong. We don't give bad advice when there's maybe marital problems like, hey, let's go to the club. No. How do we work through that? But there's also the sense of missing out, because although you're saying this, I don't know if the ladies see a man that is very in touch with his feelings and emotions as a man they would like to date or even marry. So it is the other side, right?
That's true. And that's a really controversial topic because I've heard women say things like that. Like, I don't want to be rude,
And so when I think about that, I also think about like, how am I going to say
this? That's a
good
topic. All of us pause.
Sometimes we as women have to do more work on ourselves as well. We may be the ones downing and talking negative and, he's too sensitive because he talk about this. But if I'm allowed to be expressive of my emotions, why would I not hold this space for the next person if I love and trust them and want to pursue that?
So let me ask, I guess, some clarity. Hopefully I'm asking the question you want to hear out there. So when we look at that, because I am a staunch advocate against church hurt. I believe it's just trauma you experience in church, and it's sometimes a crutch maybe to exit from church. The other side of that is, could the people that are perpetrating the church hurt be a part of some of the stuff that you're talking about now? Now, I know I'm taking it back to the church arena because church hurt seems to be a very big issue, even though I sometimes think it's a non-issue.
Mm-hmm. So your question is, does church hurt impact can the experience of church hurt be really a cluster of somebody's unresolved trauma?
Maybe. All right. I'm not saying the person that's saying I'm hurt. I'm saying the people that are constantly doing the hurting.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, I get you. So you're saying like those behaviors, those outward experiences are related to their own cluster.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think we're keeping it for church, yes, but anyone that has had some pain, they say all the time, hurt people, right? Mm-hmm. But I also say healed people heal people.
Okay.
Right? So if we can hurt each other, we can heal each other as well. And so I think addressing from a spiritual standpoint the emotional and mental challenges that come along with church hurt is something that's really important for the church to do ongoing, because nobody in the church is perfect. Outside of these doors, we are all human, and
capable
and
of
flawed.
making mistakes.
Right. And so knowing and accepting that knows that like even unintentionally sometimes we might hurt each other. And if we don't have really good communication skills, conflict resolution, it's going to hurt. And sometimes those hurt might feel or be intentional. And sometimes it's best for us to no longer engage in the way that we have been. Gotcha. But I think, some of the large part in what I've heard about different church hurt and even trauma, it's not what happened to the person. Mm-hmm. Usually it's the lack of support that they received after the hurt.
You go.
So when we think about it from a communal standpoint of a spiritual, like church and congregation, how are we supporting the victims that are hurting? How are we supporting the people that are consistently doing the hurting to reduce that? Like, I think spiritually we have a responsibility to address that and manage that in the best ways.
Because I think of the acknowledgement. If someone is saying, I'm hurt because of this, I would want to feel heard. Or if I say, you know what, Pastor Petty, you hurt me because you did this and you did that. Right. Finding some way to communicate that. To say, oh, it wasn't intentional, or I realized I did this and I'm sorry, versus just saying, no, I didn't, and then that continues to push along the narrative of that church hurt, because when the next person says it, and now you got this snowball effect.
Where people ultimately are leaving because they felt either dismissed or that they weren't valued enough. Like, okay, they don't care about me because they keep hurting me. And then not only do I don't feel like they care about me, ain't nobody helping me deal with this. So I'm out of here. Yeah. Right? So I definitely think that part is true when you think about it that way. Like empathy and validation go a long way. And I think for the people that are hurt, we have a responsibility to to give that pain a voice. Right? Okay. Mm-hmm. People can't know what they don't know. So you might passive aggressively say, I'm giving you the cold shoulder. That might not connect with me that you're giving it to me because what I did last week. Yeah. I might look at that and say, oh, they're having a bad day. All right. I'm going to get them some grace. And we on the wrong page.
You can't fix the problem if you don't know what's the problem.
You cannot. So going back to the acknowledgement piece, like it's important to acknowledge I'm hurt and then communicate that. So if we're thinking about it from a spiritual standpoint, we are trusting that we can work through that. And then the Bible says, you tell a person, you don't listen to them. Like there's a process for spiritual conflict resolution in the Bible. Right. Like church is a place to belong and to lean on one another. Mm-hmm. So God has given us each other. He's given us different skill sets and gifts so that like when I'm in a space where I need you, I can call on you, right? Like when I'm at 20%, you at the 80, and together we got the 100, right? So I think it's helpful to kind of to think about how the importance, if we're thinking about it spiritually, the community and the members and like building these relationships are.
Okay.
I think also, it's for I know the plans for you.
Okay.
We don't always know the plans.
Usually we don't know the plans. We done made one.
Our plans are definitely not his plans.
All these expectations, but we're putting stress on ourselves. And, God was like, okay, that was one road, but it wasn't road for you. Mm-hmm. You got to go around this curve and then go, and that's your road.
You think this is the best, and God's plan is better than what you can think about, right? So you're upset like this didn't happen, but he's like, well, wait a minute, because you deserve way more, and I want to give you more than what you are thinking about right now. Don't limit yourself.
And we sitting in the corner stressed.
What's this? Don't shrink.
Don't shrink yourself.
Well, so I'm gonna maybe put you all on the spot. So, in our closing moments, what are some things for the audience that, one, they can help recognize stress very quickly, maybe not in themselves, but in others around them, and then two, what can they do as a de-stressor, right? Because I know it's got to be some generic things. Everybody has their thing. Okay.
Yes. I try to categorize in like physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, mental. Like, think about how does a person's body physically say they're stressed? Tension, shoulders, like your shoulders might be hurting, your neck hurting, your back hurting. Stomach, right? You might have butterflies issues. GI issues. Heart rate increasing, right? What are some other physical signs that y'all experience when you're stressed?
The sweat on our brow when we see the account after you swiped your card.
Yes.
Yeah, heart racing, right?
Heart racing.
Yes. Racing thoughts.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can tell stress like in a home, right? When it's just constantly disorganized or disorganization brings about stress.
Okay.
When you're faced.
If we're taking care of other people, it is imperative that you take care of yourself first, so you have the capacity to take care of others.
Not feeling guilty about
Go ahead.
you taking time for yourself, because you're like,
it's
oh
necessary.
my gosh, I can't
They
even
need
go
you,
sit
but
down
you
for
need
a
you
second,
too.
But this person needs to go eat, but I feel guilty of not taking care of the person.
I think society has given us this notion that it's selfish.
Yes.
And that we're not doing good work if we are pausing on other things and taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
And so then you feel this sense of guilt. Like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. But you don't know how that 30-minute nap might give you the energy that you need to push through.
Or pausing for a moment. It's important to know that I invite you to think about what motivates you to keep going and who benefits from you overextending yourself, right?
Exactly.
A lot of that is rooted in capitalism. We treat our bodies as machines. We are not machines. We are meant to rest. We are meant to pause. We are meant to go when we need to, but slow down when we need to too. So most of us do a great job of going when we need to, but we do not so great of a job of slowing down when we need to. So this is a season, October, like the last quarter, end of the year. Some people be like, oh my God, I got to do so much because I got to catch up for the last 6 months. No, this is a time to reassess, restore, reconnect, go inward. The animals even hibernate, y'all.
And say no.
Okay.
And
say no.
Oh, okay, so now I guess I got to provide some pushback, right?
Come on, pushback. Come on, Mr. Pushback.
Gotcha.
So I agree with taking a break. I agree with, not taking on everything, saying no. But where does it become not is too much, you just don't want to do it? So let me give you an example. Once again, we have people, I'm going to work this 40-hour week job. I knew it was 40 hours a week. 3 weeks in, I need a break. Y'all expect me to work 40 hours a week. So where's the line from compassion fatigue? And I understand everybody's situation is different.
Yes.
But where is it become there's a lack of accountability and responsibility for what you did sign up for?
Yeah. Well, that's a really complex and, like you mentioned, case by case, because everybody's bandwidth has changed over the last 3 to 5 years. Okay. I'm going to push the envelope and say a 40-hour work week is a lot. When you think about working 40 hours professionally and doing what you have to do. I know you, but it's the truth. Like when you think about other cultures and even countries.
Yes. We pushing.
But America is the grind culture. Okay. All we want to do is go. It's the hustle mentality. And to your point, there needs to be some boundaries and accountability. If you signed up for 40 and you're not, able to produce 40, it's not, do I want to or can I not? It's like, well, what do we do with that? Because you're going to burn yourself out trying to push them to do 40 if their capacity is really 35. Maybe we need to reduce some things.